Hello and welcome to Wake Up Our Faith. This is the show where passion, purpose, and dreaming big challenge common sense. We like to think of it as a conversation to shed light on the upside of upside down living. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams, pound it out, bro.
Hey.
What's up, man? It's good. You know what's funny today about today's show is a little different. I don't know why, but I had that like butterfly, excited, like right before a ball game kind of feeling before we came on the air today. So we got some good juju today. I can feel it in the atmosphere.
Well, I'm with you 100%. Sleeping good, feeling good, just the right amount of coffee, peak at the right time.
And you look marvelous.
Back at you, man.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We are streaming every Wednesday, 11 a.m. from the Big Talker Studios on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. The show is rebroadcast every Saturday and Sunday on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. We've also got the podcast on iTunes, iHeart Radio, and Spotify. It's been really good, Kevin. I know you've felt this as well, and we just appreciate our listeners. I just want to say that because there are so many people who are listening that we don't get to interact with and know about, but we know they're there because other folks are telling us, hey, I'm listening. I love what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
I love the stance that you're taking. It's funny, the other day was talking with someone who's kind of been around, and they were just saying how discouraged they are that so many people in this moment aren't standing up.
Yeah.
And that we have been. And you felt that back in September of last year, I know, really strongly. And so, man, it's awesome to see. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, well, I think we've been standing up for years, and people just they're afraid of it. And then, but at some point, where else do you go? And so that said, I think before we get into the topic, God's intention is your permission, which is a dose of encouragement, and that's the point today. But I really want to just lay this out, just so people know where we stand and where I stand specifically, but we're on the same page. And I just want to be real clear about this. If you look, if you're not seeing it by now, what you're seeing is a nightmare unfolding. But you need to look past it because that's all it is. But if it's scaring you, then let it wake you up and stand up. But you find your leverage points, which are your circumstances, and you go from there. You find your firm place, and you push back. And that's what God's up to. So when you see the incredible mess, what's been allowed to happen, it's not a secret or a shock to people like Donald Trump, who is our president. I believe he remains so. People can laugh at that if they want. He will be back. It's not a 2024 election. We're not going to have to wait that long. Probably soon, hopefully soon. But I'm just giving you my opinion. But there are so many dramatic things going on, from sex trafficking and complete disaster with medicine, healthcare, just monsters. There's so much stuff going on that all you have to do is look in any direction, and you can see. You want your 4-year-old to decide their gender, all the way up to, and I'm sure Joe talks about a lot of this stuff, but it's a nightmare. But that's all it is. Okay. Yes, gas prices are going up. There are some prices to pay. People have lost their jobs, but this person is not our president. When he flies, the call letters are NA, not AF1. There's so much out there. If you just look for it, you'll see it. Now, we're not going to get into all that, but I just want people to know we stand with our properly elected president, and wherever he goes, we're going to follow. This guy that's faux president this is a disaster, and we don't appreciate it, but we have to learn and see what God's doing through it. So I just want to be real clear about that in case anybody doesn't know. So if you want to add another mask and keep doing that and keep getting vaccines every year, I said before this mask thing started, when it was just in Virginia, at least in our region, they will make you do that, and they will never stop. Now, we're going to get through it, but at some point, you go down that slope, and what's next, right? And you have to go there. People won't do it. They don't like to do it, but you have to. So at some point, you have to stand up to this stuff. Good news is a bunch of governors, I don't know how many states now are saying, no, we're done with the mask mandate. I don't know, it's like, what, 15, 16?
I think it's all 16 states do not have a mask mandate in play.
My home state of Florida, yes, the best governor in the country. But anyway, not to get all into that, but I want people to know this is where we stand. And just wait and see, watch. If we look foolish, we do. But you want things to be right. You want things to be truthful. And none of this is a surprise. We have a wonderful military, and we appreciate them and what they're up to. An incredibly giant sting operation from the outside in. So people will be brought to justice. This crazy oddball election that people think was lost, which is a joke, was not lost. All of that's known, and it'll all be brought to light. Hang in there. Look past it. What can you get from it? And that's why we're doing this right now. We're saying, hey, God brought you here in this moment to do something. You can either grow up, wake up, or you can help people who need that. That's your context. That's your circumstances. That's your leverage point. He made you. You're his idea. So his intention is your permission. That's what the show's about. So get encouraged when you see that. It's an upside-down kingdom. You got to stand on your head to see right side up. And anyway, I just wanted to say that in case anybody was unclear where we stand and what we believe and continue to believe.
Yeah.
All right. There's my sermon.
There we go. Well, man, I love the boldness that you have. I've always admired that in you, to stand and to speak what it is that God has placed in your heart without compromise. And I know that is who you are, and I have seen the fruit of that. And so always, man, stand by that in you and stand by you in that as your brother, friend, and partner, man. So rock and roll.
Thanks.
So this concept of God's intention, being your permission. We circumstantially, like you've just said, there's so much going on, and we've stated our this is where we stand. And now moving forward, what is demanded of us is to follow what God has placed in us, that we have his permission to do that in this season, and we're not waiting on that permission from anyone else.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest issue. It goes back to those three fears, right? Fear of death, fear of poverty, and the fear of the opinions of others. Well, if you're not afraid of dying, then you're not walking around thinking you're going to get sick. I mean, it's not in your forefront. People get sick, but, people also make stuff up. By the way, I've never said this stuff is make-believe. I'm saying it's man-made, and that has a patent, by the way. So I heard somebody call it these folks the Branch Covidians.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, man, that is awesome.
That's really funny.
It's a good slam. But anyway, look, that's not an indictment against people who have been harmed by it. Our heart goes out to that. But anyway, the point here is God made you. It wasn't an accident. There's great intention behind it, from big brush strokes to small ones. You can't get around that. It's not debatable. If you believe there's a God, he's smarter than you and he's more powerful than you. So you need to get on with that, because that's the best business plan there is. And I had to learn that the hard way, through a process that lasted 7 or 8 years, that started right around the end of '08. So it's not a quick thing, but the answer is for you to start there instead of complaining about your circumstances. Now, we talked about last week how to become bulletproof, and we used the matrix and some different ideas, and it's good. So, but it's not just about being bulletproof, or saying you get to the point where you say, I kind of feel this sometimes. Why is the enemy always picking on me? I'm not saying that.
That's what people say.
Well, I think that's the idea. I don't think people actually say that, but why is the devil always picking on me? And I think my heart is to get up under people and breathe some fire under there, not to convict or condemn, but to convict of their value. I think if people understood their value, they wouldn't have any gender issues. They wouldn't. There would be no BLM. None of that crap. I mean, people are craving to be a part of something and to know their value. And what hasn't done a good job is this weird idea of church we've had all these years. Where it surrounds a figurehead. And anyway.
Well, people are searching for identity. They're searching for purpose, and they're trying to find it in all these institutions and organizations
Right.
and leaders
Right.
that they become enamored by
Yes.
until they get hurt,
Right.
and then they run in the other direction, and all the
Right.
while they blame God, and that's why they don't engage
Yes.
their heart into an intimate relationship with the Father.
Right. No, that's right. What we're doing is, and people still aren't completely there yet, but it's a slow process. We're having to be very patient because it's so cutting edge. But we are turning this thing inside out. We're getting behind who God made people and supporting it and helping people live it out spiritually, in every facet, and in every theme. And that's why we're creating these communities, and they're emerging, and it's starting to pick up speed. But the encouragement here is to begin to look at what God's intention for your life is, and that's it's not that difficult. You just have to move toward it. God doesn't. I say this constantly, but and just as my own experience, but He's not going to give you all the answers. I mean, what's the point? He gives you a keyhole view sometimes of things, and you have to grab hold of them. But what He does do, and He always gives this to you, is direction. So think about that. God's always nudging you in a direction, and you got to get sensitive to that. You have to be able to look around you. You have to be able to use the Word and things to move forward. But His intention, He's not hiding it from you. He's leading you toward it. He's drawing you to participate in it. You need to own it. And that's where people are either waiting for God to just show up and do something, or just dismissing it altogether as, well, He didn't care about me and that kind of stuff. That's not true. He does, but He loves you so much. He wants you to co-labor. He wants you to step in and own it.
It's like your kids are grown, and I know we've talked about this. When you raised them, you and Holly raised them, and now we're in the season of raising our own kids. It does nothing for me to clean my kids' room for them.
Right.
Like I want them to co-labor with their mom and I. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, we are going to clean this room.
Right.
It does nothing for a child when a parent takes care of all of their needs.
Right.
But yet that's how we look at God, and yet we don't want to co-labor with Him. God's saying, hey, let's clean your room. Yeah. And that means I want you to get up and tap into this with me. Yeah. And yet we approach it as if, okay, God, well, I want my room clean, but I'm just going to continue playing video games hoping that it's done. And that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. And that's not a good way to train your children. The other way, not what you're doing, but you have to set the example. You have to practice what you preach, all these old cliches. But look, for anybody who wants to do something different with their life, and that is most people, I believe, most people at this point. Now, I think we're going to come into a season, and it's why we exist right now. There's a lot of healing that's going to need to happen, and I mean spiritual healing. But people are amazing. They're an original work of art that God brought into this place, redeemed us, and sets us free. And our job is to set them free. So if you want to do something else with your life, there's a process. You can. You're not stuck by circumstances. They're not your enemy. They propel you forward. You have to learn to embrace that. So what I'm getting at here is here's a good question, and I ask this of people on occasion, but and you really have to let this sink in a second. I said it to you yesterday, but it's not a new thought for me. But look, if you would take a check for $10 million to walk away from what you're doing, then you're in the wrong business. Now let it sink in and meditate on that thought. If you would take a check for $10 million to stop doing, for good, what you're doing, the work you're doing right now, then you are in the wrong business. Now, here's the good news. God wants you in his business.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't have to be preaching. And that's a myth. God made you. He made great business people. He made great artists. He made great teachers. It's just infinite. When you add all the combinations of corporate and individual together, it's beautiful. So there is no other you or me. There's plenty of Matts and Kevins out there. It'd be funny to see somebody else doing a show in another small town. They look sort of like us.
Michael and Keith.
Yeah. But there's no other. I mean, it's just like the tree. You know, there's millions of trees out there. We can see them. But there's not one of them that are the same. They take up different geography. They all have a place. They bear fruit. And that's what we've got to get a hold of that. Mm. What that does is it gives you, it starts to stoke and stroke your heart and stir it up with the value that God placed there.
Yeah.
So, in other words, his intention is your permission. Doesn't mean jump off a building or quit your job. It means you've got to start to dream and move toward it. If you don't, then you are selling out. You're selling out something that God didn't intend for you. He wants you to live a joyful, fulfilling life where you get up every day and do what you love, and it changes people's lives. Mm. That's what he's about.
You know, the interesting piece in all of this, and like you said, stuff that is said here, you have to wrestle with it in your own heart. And if you choose to be offended by it, then we love you. Have a good day.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I'm 54 years old, and however many days I got left, I love you all day long, but I don't care. You're offended.
But if you choose to allow it to challenge you and let the Spirit of God begin to convict you and shape you, what I think you'll begin to see, as we have seen, is we have been raised in a culture that has indoctrinated us to a set of principles and standards that are not God's intended way.
Right.
They're not. And so kids, grow up thinking you've got to go to school, you've got to go to college, you've got to get a good job, you've got to save for retirement, and your entire value is put in what you do and how you treat people.
Yes, it's toxic.
Now this generation is being told, oh, your entire value is based on how you love people, and by love people, we mean accept them as they are and let there be no moral compass and let there be no truth. It's all relative, and it's all about each individual person.
Yeah.
So we've got these indoctrinations that have been happening over the last generations, right? And we're at a point now where the fork in the road is as clear as it's ever been. You wrote that in your book, 5-6 years ago, that the fork in the road. But I mean, now that was prophetic. You were ahead of the curve seeing it back then. And now people are coming to that impasse, that moment where they have to choose.
Yeah. Well, look, I was never filthy rich. I mean, we had some pretty good assets of business we could have sold and some properties and all that. And it's millionaire asset type stuff. It's low end millionaire. I call it ghetto rich. But, that was my goal is to do all of that. And at some point I could sell it all and then go minister to people. Now think about how ridiculous that is. Mm. It sounds good on paper. Mm-hmm. Because we've all been about hard work and effort's good. But remember the age model, anointing first, gifts emerge from that, and effort happens. If you want to learn any more about any of this stuff, just give us a call. This is what we do. And it's actually priceless. It will change your life. And I can stack up a bunch of people that'll say that. But the thing is you've got to decide what the value of your days are. And why God put you here, and you've got to begin to move toward them. You don't have to know all the answers, but you got to get in there and finger paint a little bit and start. And we're here to help you do that, not just spiritually, but we're here to walk it out with you. And I mean that. I mean, anybody knows me knows that, and you too. So it's for real. We're not selling anything. Over and over, I always say that because it's so different, right? And I know that's been a thing. Is like, what is too good to be true? No, it's not. Mm-hmm. You can contribute and help us because we're helping people, but we're here. There's no obstacles. Screw the devil. Get out of here. Get lost. You don't scare me. So if you want that in your life and you want to know why you're here, that's why we exist. And that's the heart of this whole thing. And we mean it. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes there's a lot of crap to work through, but guess what it is doing? It's helping heal marriages,
Yes.
families, people's lives, and people are moving in the right direction. And so anyway, there's a lot to this, but how are we doing on time?
We're good. I think we got, Joe, what we got here? Yeah, about 9-10 minutes.
I used to look at people and think, well, why did they get that? Or, how come, well, aren't I important? And it's just such a baby attitude.
What about me, God?
Yeah. I think we go through those different things, but having had the opportunity to probably go in the direction of writing books, publishing books, speaking and all that, the opportunity was right there, and I was right in the heart of that. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't feel led to do that. What really matters is just getting in front of people one at a time, and that's what my heart breaks for, because that's what God's heart breaks for, and it's missing. Now that's my perspective, but we need everybody to feel that way about the work God's put in their heart, as you feel that way about your work. Now, people call us the dynamic duo, and I can see why it works really good. But because we're different, but we're on the same dynamic and the same heart. But that's for you too. That's the biggest thing I want people to know is this is for you. Yeah. This is for you. We're not anything more than you, but we are absolutely who we are. And, if you know anybody who knows who they are, I know I'll stand up and say, I understand who I am. It's the best thing there is. I've asked wealthy people, would you trade what you have for what I have? And the answer is, well, I'm sitting in front of you, aren't I? So, you make out of that what you want, but I don't give a crap what people can stack up. Yeah, we need it. We want to build things. We want to complete a life center vision, have trade schools and all kind of great stuff. But we have to be excellent in our faith and our growth, and we have to lead people in that first. So anyway, you are important. You are the church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. But you have to stand up and be who you are and move in that direction, and not let anything overtake you or threaten you out of that. If Bill Gates is a monster, well, guess what? The gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Mm. So take it for what you will. I mean, I got all kind of things to talk about, but
I love what you were talking about. This is for you. This is for the listener.
Yes.
Right? Like the heart and intent of our organization is to pour in and equip individuals to become who God created them to be, and then to give them an environment where they can live that out for the benefit of their satisfaction, fulfillment,
right?
Honoring God and blessing people.
Yes.
That's that 3-part fruit thing we've talked about.
Yes.
The interesting thing is in traditional marketing, they're always like, businesses need to posture themselves as, the whole, you're the hero, or, we're the hero, or whatever. And
right.
It's just so funny, because all of that is junk. Like, we are all God's kids. We are all awesome. We are all walking this out together. And we need to stop posturing ourselves in this competitive environment where we're constantly looking around, and I'm speaking to myself here, waiting on people's permission and approval to live out who God's called us to be.
Yeah.
That is the guts of my own journey, is waiting on approval and permission from other people to go say, hey, have you seen this? What do you think? Do you like it? Do you know? And just waiting and looking for that approval, instead of just going, listen, I'm in, I'm going. And that's the
right.
area where you've called me forth and challenged me in this most recent season to step into.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and it's good. I mean, we've got to find our leverage points, and to me, they are our circumstances. How are we doing?
We're good.
So, the other side of that, I asked a potent question a few minutes ago. The other side of that is when you begin to give in to things like, well, I just wear the mask, which is completely horrible for your health, holds in carbon dioxide, and is bad for children. And if you choose your battles, that's your business. But whatever these things are, we're seeing them all around us. Everything's eroding. All that's being done is being peeled back a little bit so we can see the demonic, disastrous thing. But we also have a bunch of pastors out there who have not stood up for truth. They bend the narrative to the dollar. And because of that, we have a mess. So at some point, if you don't stand up for what you believe and then go toward your value, no, your heart will sing when you're doing that thing that God put in you to do. You better believe he'll provide for it. And if you don't believe that, come talk to me for a few hours and I will show you my own life and many others where he is doing that. Fear is your enemy. That's the hold the enemy has over you. And when he has that, he can plug in his hypnotic, scary, haunted house ways. So now we're just getting to see it. But remember, you have to embrace the course that's been set before you, and it gives birth to that thing. So don't be afraid of your circumstances. The seed doesn't curse the dirt. So we've got to stop all that. Start looking at God put you here now. This is the greatest time ever to be alive. Not the worst. It's the greatest. But you can't encourage people from a quenched, downcast spirit, and you can't lead people unless you're willing to lead.
Yeah.
So you've got to get on board with this if you are a believer and quit being a baby from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And just grow up. So anyway, there's a lot more here.
Well, so as you're talking about this, I'm sitting there thinking about Jesus, and for the most part, I mean, people think they know about Jesus, but when you truly look at how the man lived out and walked his life, he did not kowtow to the authoritarian regime of Rome, nor did he kowtow to the spiritual regime of the Pharisees and Sadducees.
Yeah.
Nor did, he spoke very direct, and he said, you are whitewashed tombs.
Right.
You think you know, but you don't know.
Yeah.
And yet in our modern culture, when people do that, they get all kinds of stones and rocks thrown at them because people want to say, oh, you're just harsh, or you're just fundamental, or you don't love your neighbor. And so people go, oh, well, maybe I got it wrong. And they go down to this weak version of Jesus where it doesn't carry the authority that it carried. Yeah. And so what we're seeing is not a kingdom example of the power, right, and the truth that he brought.
That's right. It's rare. And but this is your moment. This is your moment. Your choices today will matter tomorrow. And that's one of the first questions I ask people. What will have mattered about your life? And, a lot of times people start with, well, I want to do God's will. It's very general. Or, I want security and all that kind of stuff. But you got to get past all that. Your life actually has an individual, priceless value of being here now, and it has great purpose and mission. You are his mission. And if you don't step into that, yes, you can live a life of wealth or comfort or, even using your gifts a little bit or having a moment or a bunch of moments. But that's not changing the world. But you will. Who you are will. And so we've got so much to go through. But I think that the main thing to look at from this point is consider those 2 points. What would it take to get you to deny Jesus? This is another polarizing question. At some point, you're sliding into that without realizing it. So when you agree that the craziness we're seeing is good because you've heard it and seen it through so many TV shows, now you're actually beginning to deny him. So at what point would you deny Jesus? That's your question. Whatever it takes to wake people up and get them excited about who they are instead of being afraid and worried and, oh no, and I got to put this on to make everybody happy. You don't. Stand up and be who you are. That's what the world needs. That's why when you see somebody like Governor DeSantis telling this insane person who doesn't even live in the White House, check it out on the webcam at night. There's nobody there, by the way. But when you see that guy saying, I will not address you as president. He said it in some different terms, and I stand behind him. But this is the lion. part of being like Jesus. You've got to stand up. When we look back, what will your life have been about? And it's always about three things to God. It's about honoring him, pleasing him, same thing. It's about helping, serving others in his name. And it's about, this is where people get lost, it's about something, doing it in a way that's sustainable. It makes your heart sing. It satisfies your soul. And there's just nothing like it. You see these shows where people go in and they renew people's lives, and they build a new home, and they're deserving people. That's exactly what Life Center is. And we want to do that on a massive scale through training them, teaching them, creating businesses, houses, all of that, but also healing them spiritually. It's huge. So if you want to keep going and tithing and putting into a place that's not bearing fruit, go for it. But this is. And we need help. We need more people to jump in and be who they are. That's the greatest resource we have. So anyway, I got a lot of stuff to read and go through in our next 30 minutes.
We got another segment, Kevin. Hold on. We'll put the reins on you for a moment. We're going to come back and rock and roll. Thank you, brother, for pouring out. Thank you, guys, for listening, tuning in. We're going to take a short break, recognize our corporate partners back for the second segment of Wake Up Our Faith right after this. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today to Wake Up Our Faith. I want to recognize our corporate partners for making this show possible and supporting the work that we do. We certainly support them here in this city and the work that they do. Dr. Greg Veman, Dr. V, Seacoast Skin Surgery, his ministry, Everlasting Strength. You can check him out on the web, everlastingstrength.org. Also, Freeman Landscaping, Eastern North Carolina's largest family-owned landscaping irrigation firm, residential and commercial, 910-796-1166. Also, our good friend Chris Riley and the team at Cap Trust Wilmington. They are in the business of long-term financial planning and want to enrich the lives of their families and clients through sound financial advice, 910-256-8882. Also, Blue Wave Dentistry, Chad Biggerstaff and his team at the entrance to Brunswick Forest, right there in Brunswick County, just across the bridge in Leland. Comprehensive personal dental care. If you need to schedule a cleaning or a dental checkup, make sure to reach out to Blue Wave Dentistry, 910-383-2615, bluewavedentistry.com on the web. Chris Hutchins and his team at Guaranteed Rate Mortgage have more than 30 years experience in the mortgage business and a great team there. If you're buying or refinancing your home, make sure you reach out to Chris Hutchins, his team at Guaranteed Rate Mortgage off of Military Cutoff above PT's, 910-344-0304. Also, Physical Therapy Services of Wilmington, ptservicesofwilmington.com on the web, family owned and operated since 1983, multiple locations here in the Wilmington area. Century 21 Swalyer and Associates, the Carolina's most successful Century 21 agency. Jeff Swalyer, Whitney, and the team there have a fantastic group. They are very intent on training those who are interested to get into the real estate business as well. You can reach out to them if you have any interest, 910-256-0021. Also, to the Rising Tide real estate team, just learned that they were one of the top 5 teams in the entire southeastern North Carolina market for real estate in 2020, representing buyers and sellers. Rising Tide real estate team out of the Intracoastal office, 910-620-7177. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Back to Wake Up Our Faith. Hello and welcome back to Wake Up Our Faith. Matt Ham, Kevin Adams in studio today, this wonderful Wednesday. For those who are catching us on the stream, we've got the gorgeous USS North Carolina battleship behind my big noggin, overlooking the River Jordan, baby, the Jordan River. I don't call it the Cape Fear River anymore because we don't need fear hanging over this city any longer. It's time to move on from that. That's what we're about. Just for those with a history lesson, it was originally called the Jordan River, and so we're going back to those roots. Thank you guys for jumping on today, those who are catching us. Hey, make sure if you're not already, subscribe to our podcast where you can catch this show and all of its replays. We would love for you to do that. Spotify, iTunes, or iHeart Radio. Leave us a comment, question. You can always call in if you'd like, 910-805-8330. Email us, info, at uprint.life. We also want to let you guys know about one of our good friends and partners, Melissa Thomas. She is known as Melissa the Coach. Melissa lives down in the Boiling Springs Lake area just across the river, but she is a wonderful individual, and we just love her heart.
Yes.
She has got a budgeting workshop upcoming. Melissa's purpose is to help people simplify their lives. One of those areas is financial. She has a great story on her own accord, paid off $50,000, $60,000 in debt so she could pursue her dreams. She's doing that actively now. She's written books. She does speaking. But she's doing a budgeting workshop, a 90-minute budgeting workshop on March 15th. It's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the evening, and there are only 8 spots left available. She just texted me to let me know there's 8 remaining spots. If you are interested in having someone talk with you about how to set up a professional budget and how to get on a tight budget and stop letting your money rule you, you get to rule over your money and steward it properly, definitely sign up for this. I think it's like $79. It's a great resource. MelissaTheCoach.com/BBB. That's B as in Bravo or B as in budget. MelissaTheCoach.com/BBB. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to us as well, but would love for you guys to check that out.
Yeah. Amen. Well,
we got lots, Kevin. The bag is open.
Yeah,
it's funny, guys. I'm gonna let Kevin tell. I'm gonna tell this story real quick. First time I ever met Kevin, not the first time I ever met him. The first time we ever spent decent time together. We were sitting down at Starbucks and just having conversation. And we got through with the conversation. I said, man, you've got a bag of tricks behind you that you have not even tapped into or opened up. And over the last 5 years, man, that bag has been endless, and now you're just dumping all of it. He goes, come on, baby, let's
throw
go.
it out on the table, right?
Amen, man, amen.
Yeah, it's smorgasbord. Well, look, God wants us to press in. We've talked about this over and over. We talked about principalities. We talk about we've got a job to do. Our job is to step into the battle. This is what we see in Scripture. We've got to step into the fight. But we do that knowing God will win it. That's his job. So all of this has that undertone to it. So you got to get excited because you're going to win. But you won't win if you allow fear and the enemy and the toxic crap of your life take your days away from you. And yes, when you do press in, you get that thing. Well, why does the enemy keep picking on me? Well, that's what he does, and he's not going to quit.
Yeah.
So you got to toughen up and decide what your life means in the smallest places and start there. And what happens is you're bringing something into every environment you go to. And that's why you're here. You have to learn to take joy in the obedience, take joy in the planting. Forget trying to measure by the fruit. God is what makes the fruit grow. He bears it, or he produces it. We just bear it. So you've got to look at the things that God gives you, sickness, health, anything. And I'm not saying he puts that on you. I'm saying these circumstances. If you're Tom Brady and you're playing on a sand lot and there's sand spurs and holes, you're still a badass. You're still you. You're still going to win. So don't complain about the sand spurs. Get up and go bring victory. It's like David in the valley of the shadow of death. He knew. Most people don't know this. I say it all the time. It's not the valley of death. And that's what we're seeing around us. It's the shadow, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like everything you said
Yes.
in the first segment.
Yes.
We are walking through the valley of the shadow of death.
That's right.
And Psalm 23 needs to be our anthem. And yet, we're not laying down by still waters. We're freaking out. But you're saying, let's go back.
You don't fall down and weep. You get up and take the valley for Jesus.
Amen.
And there ain't no wuss in Jesus. And pardon my language, but that's just, we're there. We need to be salty. One of the things I wanted to read, I want this to encourage people. This is my book, which I think is one of the greatest books ever written on faith, because I had to live it out in a treacherous few years, and it's all blood and guts. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Don't read it. But I would challenge anyone to read it and see if it doesn't change you. I'm here now. The people that have come before us, they're also great and needed. And but this is about truth. It's not about arrogance or any of that crap. It's just about getting to the truth, because you don't have time for anything else. All right, this is something at some point near the end of a long journey, or later in my journey, when I started to mature and begin to listen to God's voice. This is something, and I heard this verbatim, and I wrote it down, and it was such a powerful thing. But I want to read it real quick because it applies to everyone. So I want you to, I call it my note from the King, written exactly the way I heard it. And I can't remember what year it was. It was probably 2012 or 13 or something. But all right, this is what God said to me in one of my deepest, darkest moments. All right, it's a long paragraph, and I'm going to read it. And if you want a book, I'll get you a book. You don't have to buy it. Just contact us. We've got them. All right. Here's what he said. You've been searching the skies for a cloudburst while standing in a pool of water. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to talk me into providing for you. Instead, embrace the depth of this struggle and steward it well. My water is gathered and stored here in your lowest place. Stop asking for rain and plant the seeds that I've already given you. And from the rich, wet soil beneath your feet will spring trees of living sacrifices among the weeds. With a renewed mind, I have given you this wilderness to civilize. With the light of men, I have given you this darkness to illuminate. With my leaven, I've given you this fire to make everything you touch rise with you. And having crushed you like salt, it's with my hand that I will scatter you and make savory the culture that surrounds you. Write for me, and I will provide. Now, that's what my God said to me. And I wrote it down as fast as I could, and I captured it. Most of the time we kind of forget. There's a lot of that. But this was one of those moments that he just seared it into me. But he was talking to me when I was at my lowest point, when I was saying, why? I have all this. I have everything to give, and nobody wants it. And here we are, 7, 8 years later, and all this stuff is happening. So but it's for you. It's for you. It's for everybody. That's our God. Well, not just Kevin's God. It's our God. He's fantastic.
One of the things that you say, and it's interesting, this is the picture that I get, is if you go into the candy store, it's God's candy store, and he gives you the candy. And you turn around and you look behind you, and there's all these kids lined up at the door. You turn around and you give the candy to the kids.
Absolutely.
And so what I see in your own journey, and what I have witnessed as your partner and friend through this is, I have seen God bless you with the candy, and I have seen you turn around and bless others with it. And so, I think one of the things that Christian culture has to get in their heart is we get to own the testimonies of other faithful people. Instead of owning them, we compete with them and compare them and get mad at them.
Right.
And that's garbage. And
That's right.
we have to be a people say, you know what, God, if you healed Stephen, you can heal me, and you will heal me.
Absolutely.
If you blessed Kevin, you will bless me. Just as you have blessed Kevin, do bless me. And so these testimonies we share, it's, as Kevin said, it's not to make much of us, it's to make much of our God. But at the same time, you have his permission to use that testimony for your good future.
That's right.
So start doing it and stop getting offended by, just the nonsense. Well, that's just arrogant, or that didn't happen to me. Get over it. Yeah. Use testimony and move forward.
Yeah, get over it knowing that your life is priceless, and it matters, specifically right now, because you're here now. Spurgeon isn't here. C.S. Lewis isn't here. Billy Graham is no longer here. Let's stand on their shoulders. Or, Corrie ten Boom. And you name men, women, these great people. Look all the way in Scripture. They all went against logic. They went with what God said to them. I asked the question last week, what what good would it be if Esther and Joseph did not have their circumstances? That produces true wealth. One of the reasons God puts me in front of people that are poor and extremely wealthy is because I won't compromise.
Yes,
And these people trust me. They know my heart because I understand both sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not after anything. I'm after what matters to God. That's what we do. So it's not about what you can stack up. If you've got a lot, then jump in and help and quit being a baby. If you don't have anything, then we will help you all day long as much as we're able to.
Mm-hmm.
Let go of all that. Your true value is who you are, why God put you here, and we can help you understand that, and your gifts emerge to carry it out, the hammer and the saw, the blueprint, and effort just happens. But it's about developing hunger, and that's what this point of the show today is. It's encouragement. It's meant to be encouragement. I have something else I want to read real quick. There's so much. I mean, I try to cram too much in here, but this is something that's been speaking to me for weeks and weeks now, and I've been talking about it individually in the mentoring sessions with people because to me it's the perfect sort of earthly view of a man or woman of great character. And I was getting into George Washington recently. I like to learn about different people, and I'm just fascinated by him and his character. The man who could have become king and didn't. Just an amazing dude. But anyway, so I was trying to describe what he's like from what I've learned, and then God brought this to my attention one day, and I'd heard it before. I mean, it's 100 years old poem, but I'm going to read it if that's okay. But
it's your show, man.
It's a little bit in Old English. But this is Rudyard Kipling. The poem's called "If." What?
I love this poem.
Oh, you want to read it?
No.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read it, so let's remember it together. But more importantly, this is for you, audience. This is the great character that we should all aspire to. This is another way of saying that's what Jesus was like, but through a poet. All right, so, and if I butcher it, just hang in there with me because it's a little out of date on the actual semantic. All right, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting or by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so on when there is nothing in you except the will, which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. It's long, but to me, that's what I want to be like. Mm. That's the character I want to walk around with. And, I think a lot of people would read that and be scared by it because they aspire to being known and all these things. No, man, there's something amazing about standing still and watching God work around you and just being confident. That's the heart of Jesus. So I think that poem is a great illustration. Obviously, you like it.
Well, here's why I got so excited. Just forgive me. I literally overwhelmed by the Holy Spirit and just jubilated because my mom shared that poem with me when I was a kid, and I remember reading it when I was young, but I had forgotten it until about 2 weeks ago, and it came across my path, not from you. And what I'm saying is God did it here and there, and we had yet to talk about it. So when you said if, it was just complete affirmation in my spirit of what the Lord had been saying. And when he connects the dots like that on air, I got nothing else to do than just celebrate. So I'm not trying to steal the moment. I'm just like, holy cow, like I can't, I'm baffled.
No, I think the point of it is I want our audience to grab hold of that. Now, I've been, this is something that, I've used it. I brought it the last 2 shows and haven't had a chance to read it. And you probably remember me saying I had something I wanted to read and didn't get a chance to.
That's amazing.
So today was the right day for it. But think about the thing that I read from my book. Think about this. Think about these things. This is for you. And there's something amazing about not letting people shake you, not letting circumstances shake you, not letting the imposters of praise or defeat take you. You're here. You're here by God's intention. And you have to learn how to remember that every heavenly calling has an earthly preparation period. I'm not surprised, Matt. I mean, I'm certainly no prophet, but I just go with what he says, and there's fruit. You see the fruit, right?
Amen.
So, we're not talking out of our rear ends here. We're talking about things lived out and followed with courage. But more important than courage is you got to know. You got to know, and God will give that to you. You got to know your direction and move forward in it. Here's one of the daily texts. I just brought it in because it speaks to this. But if you have an impossible dream, ? Right? It's a question. Have an impossible dream. Let go of the how, embrace the why, and know the impossible will bend its knee to Jesus when our only ambition is to first do the same. So if you want to do the thing that's deepest in your heart, all you got to do is begin and trust the Lord. He put that in you. He put it in you. He put it in you. He put it in you. Never, ever give up. And so take all this content and these ideas and things, and remember, let them encourage you. When you have difficult circumstances or the world around you looks like it's caving in, remember, God put you here for this moment, just like Esther. And that didn't happen quickly, and they still had to fight, right? You got the whole thing there. Joseph, he had to be prepared, and he had to even stay in prison 2 years longer than most would suspect he should. There's reason for that. Enjoy that, but go. Your value is right before you. Step into it. Don't let the fears of the world push you back into that toxic linear life, because you may have security and comfort, but you will miss out on changing eternity for others. And it's a powerful thing.
I love just God's timing in all of this. And I think as of late, I've started to see more and more how, he says in the New Testament, we prophesy in part. We know in part, we prophesy in part.
Right.
And so there's been all of these parts that he's been speaking over the years to you, to us, through us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to start to see some of it begin to come to fruition, like what you read about your book about planting seeds and now seeing where things are. It's awesome. I remember one of the things that, you said the Lord spoke to you on the eve or right around when Billy Graham passed away. And you were talking about how this evangelical arc of 100 years of his life represented the evangelical arc, in this country, and how that death marked a transition season into kingdom evangelism.
Right.
And, it was last week, I think, was the anniversary of his death 3 years ago. And it's interesting that in 2018, that's when that happened. And then right after that in 2018 is when we launched the Portable Faith Community,
Right.
which was our way of using digital technology to begin walking with people right where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see all of that come together.
Right.
And in the moment we're in now,
Yeah.
the world is so different.
Yeah.
So different now
Right.
than simply 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more so. So we,
Right.
as believers, and to our listeners and audience, it is time to get on with what God is doing and where
Right.
he is going. And we have to
Exactly.
stop going back to the old wineskins, the old way,
Right.
back to Egypt. Now's the time,
Right.
friends. Now is the time. Step in.
Yeah, and remember that your circumstances are your leverage points. They are good. God says, "Be thankful in all things," and what else?
Four.
And that's in there, and you don't get to walk away from that. And that's hard. It's hard to be thankful for things that are difficult. I remember when I had we've seen some incredible things in our life, and close calls, and with our children, and just all kind of stuff. A grandchild, it's just and I look back and go, why? But now I know why, because we're not afraid of those things anymore. And we can lead people, encourage them, but that takes strength. It's not. We have to be what one of the things we teach is being firm, gentle, and joyful, and that's Jesus. It's just a different way of saying it, but you take a firm stand. I tell people all the time, you have to be a bank vault with a smiley face on it. You don't negotiate who you are with anyone.
Mm-hmm. God
put that in you. Your job is to guard that and then nurture it. So you take a firm stand. It doesn't mean you're angry and mean. You just say, I know who I am. I'm going to keep going. But you have a gentle delivery. And this applies to parenting. It applies to marriage. It applies to relationships, workplace, all of it. It's a simple thing: firm, gentle, joyful. And when you start going in that direction, you will start seeing progress made. So firm stand, gentle delivery, joyful direction. If you can just grab hold of that, then you will begin to see progress right away in your growth. I mean, I know a lot of times you say, well, give us some practical. Well, there's a practical thing. Do not let someone negotiate who you are. They don't get to, because God made you. So if you have someone who's doing that, whether you're worried about this or that, then someone else is in between you and God and what he has intended for you. His intention is your permission, right? Get excited about it.
Yeah.
And, but one other thing I wanted to mention real quick, remember, God said to Abraham, everywhere you set your foot belongs to you. You've got to think that way. This is your geography. This is our town, our city. And where you are, it's yours too. We're not trying to get to be icons. We're saying, guys, let's go. We got torches and fire, and we're ready, right? Let's go do something together. Let's change people's lives. But you are a huge part of that. You, everyone, audience, God made you. You're here now. So remember, think about it like Abraham. If you're here and you believe, oh my goodness, everywhere you set your foot is yours. Stand up and go after it. And don't negotiate with people who are offended about it. Those are the ones standing around wringing their hands right now going, what am I going to do? And they're pastors, business people, they're all over the place. Well, you know what? Life's short. So stand up, but we will stand up with you. You're not alone. And that's the thing that's changing. There's a lot of us out there. So anyway, just wanted to say it that way. Plenty more to say, but just be encouraged is the message.
Yeah. Well, friends, thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. Thanks for pouring out, man. We'll be back next week for Wake Up Our Faith. See you guys.